Silver Wolf Midstream and Niel Rootare.
Rootare, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I got something right.
Perfect.
He's going to be speaking. So Niel's going to be running his slideshow from his laptop, and he's going to be discussing and introducing himself. So Niel, why don't you kick it off?
Well, thank you, Marty. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I was invited in at the very short notice because we have a pipeline project, energy infrastructure, that is kind of unique and new, and I'm working with a investment bank out of Newport Beach or Irvine, California, Ousted Securities, and we're on a capital campaign to raise money to buy this pipeline, turn it around, and refurbish it. So I guess what I could do is I'll bring up the slide deck, and then we can just walk through the slide deck, and I'll tell you a little bit about what this pipeline is and what we're trying to accomplish with it, and that's how I'll start.
So give me a half a second to bring the slide deck up where I hit that screen share, right? And then I find what I want to share. And so I'll start with this. This is pretty simple. This, oh, you know what? Okay, there it is.
So that's a Google Earth map, just to introduce this very quickly. That's where the pipeline is. That's where it is in the state of Michigan. It's a 225-mile pipeline, and this is actually our presentation. So let's, how do I do this? You are sharing. I want this on. I see it on my screen, but I don't see it on our.
Oh, there it is. It just popped up for a second.
Oh, bear with me. All right, one more time.
I think you just need to get rid of the other, the map, shut that down, and then probably underneath it.
That's what it probably was. All right, let's see. And then, let's try it.
There you go. You want to put it on a slideshow?
Yeah, I'm going to throw it to slideshow in just a second. I have all these things. Oh, there it is. Now, that should be on slideshow. At least on my laptop, it's on slideshow. And so that should be pretty straightforward. So we are Silver Wolf Midstream. I started this company. I'll just give you a little background on myself. I've been in the energy space for about 30 years, and 30 years building and managing and developing assets. The early part of my career was in marketing, in the deregulated energy marketing space, where we started with deregulated natural gas on interstate pipelines and selling it to wholesale customers. That was 30 years ago, and that's evolved into the early entry point. The path of least resistance into the energy space was marketing, and developed that for a number of years. I built a marketing company with 2 utility organizations underneath me because there's an enormous amount of credit that is required to be able to buy the resource, to be able to resell the resource, so that natural gas, that would be. And so you needed big, deep pocket credit parties to be able to manage those transactions. So I built 2 marketing companies and successfully monetized those with utility holding companies. One of the utilities was Utilicorp United out of Kansas City, an affiliate of them, and then another one was Indiana, well, an affiliate of Indiana Gas, Southern Indiana Gas and Electric, and put those marketing companies together. And I started a pipeline company about 15 years ago, gathering oil and gas from local legacy producers in the Appalachian Basin. And that's what got me onto the asset side. And successfully built pipelines, gathering lines, 2 oil wells and gas wells out in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, in that market, and gathering them and then bringing them to facilities and or the utility company for distribution. And that was a successful business, and we monetized that to an affiliate of Dominion Resources a number of years ago. And that is part of the infrastructure that's in the shale play that we all know and love today in the Marcellus and Utica shale. So, and then I was asked to lead a group in business development at a utility company in Detroit. Detroit Edison, or DTE Energy, had a unregulated non-jurisdictional affiliate that managed
Midstream assets and was in the early stages of really growing that asset. So I was in business development there, looking for assets and pipelines. And that's the segue to how we found this pipeline. Through those relationships, basically, I have met many people, and I'm very familiar with the asset in this case that's in the state of Michigan. It's a 225-mile, 8-inch coated steel pipeline that runs. Currently, it flows, its direction of flow is from north to south, meaning it starts at that north end where there's a little dog leg, and that's in a town called Kalkaska. And it starts there and flows down to southern Michigan to Sarnia, Ontario, crosses the river there in Marysville, and goes to one of the largest refineries in Ontario, in Sarnia. It's the Shell plant. Shell Oil Company built this pipeline in 1973 for that purposes. They own the plant in the northern half to deliver down to the southern half for ethane, which was a byproduct or a product out of the gas stream that was produced in Michigan when it was a prolific gas play. So long story short, this asset has come and gone through a number of iterations of ownership. And it's always been owned by an oil company that produces on the acreage that is up there in that location of the field. And the current owner has a 280 or 300,000 acre position that they are drilling and producing oil and gas on. And the product stream that was flowing on this pipeline was ethane. And ethane is a derivative product that comes out of the gas stream of a wet natural gas stream. And it's one of the carbon chains that really is not good to keep into the natural gas stream that goes to the utility company that we burn in our house. So it was going down to the refinery for the refinery to use it in other capacities. They took that stream all the way down, sent it to Sarnia, and that's how it's been operating for 20 plus years. The market has dissipated to almost nothing for the value of ethane, and the oil company that owns this pipeline currently decided they wanted to monetize this so they can put resources into what they do, and that is exploration and production. So this pipeline is available to us. You know, there are some things that I probably ought to get to. I should have hit those earlier on. There are some risk factors that have to be disclosed. So in this slide deck, and everybody will get a copy of this slide deck, the standard operating risk factors and disclosures are in there, and that's the stuff that we all know and love and that we have to keep in there for our attorneys to be happy. So that's where that is. But so the short and quick, I just kind of gave you this summary of where we're in words, what this summary is. What we're doing on this asset is we're taking this 225-mile asset, and rather than follow these slides and tell you what the story is, I'm parked on this financial summary because you can look at that while I tell you more about the story. Because the story is, there's a pipeline in the state of Michigan, and it's not being used. So it hit the radar screen because we found an empty asset that was being underutilized. And this may exist everywhere in the United States where there's this type of situation. However, in Michigan, it's a little bit different. In Michigan, it happens to be the single largest market in the United States for propane, residential usage and also other usage. The demand in Michigan is about 489 to 500 million gallons a year of propane. And it's all being trucked right now in Michigan. It's all being trucked from this lower section down here in Sarnia throughout the entire state going this way. There is no pipeline in Michigan that takes that product and moves it along a pipeline for another distribution point farther into the state. Everybody in the state of Michigan has to go and pick it up by truck over here in the Marysville area or another location on the far west side of the state called Alta. So this narrative was, gee, this pipeline's kind of interesting. Maybe we can relieve truck traffic and then go capture the market. I mean, there are 500 million gallons of propane moving around in trucks in the state of Michigan. And it's all coming out of this most of it's coming out of this Marysville area. This pipeline goes right there, connects to exactly the plant where the propane is picked up at. And I do have slides that indicate where the pictures of all this is. Our terminus of the pipeline, mile marker 225, goes right into the plant and the storage facilities where propane is stored. So we have a natural source for this, and instead of trucks coming down there and lining up on the highways in southern Michigan, we're gonna move this further up the line to 2 points in the middle of the state and have them come to different areas. And we've done our analysis on this to figure out how much we can charge for a tariff, a transportation rate, to be able to make it a good value proposition for trucking companies to say, you know what, instead of driving all the way down to Marysville, I'm gonna go over here and pick it up in the middle of the state. And so we have a tariff that we think works in that scenario. We have a flat tariff rate that we're going to charge 10 cents to move propane from Marysville to Kalkaska, and there may be some other additions to that as we continue to file our tariff with FERC. That's another point to this. As I go through this whole slide deck, I'll probably move around from point to point, but every one of the things that I'm talking about are addressed in the slide deck. This is a FERC-regulated pipeline, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. That may sound like bad news to some, but it really isn't in this case. It might be bad news if you were trying to build a new pipeline, and you can just go to the news to read any story you want about new pipelines trying to get built today and all of the opposition that's out there against them in the process of doing that.
Do you need to re-engineer the existing pipeline?
No, this pipeline is flowing. It's a liquids pipeline. It's regulated by FERC under the oil pipeline rules, not under natural gas, which is very favorable for us. Without getting into the minutia of why that's the case, this used to be regulated under the Interstate Commerce Act, and when FERC took over the Interstate Commerce Commission regulatory responsibilities, pipelines came into it, and oil pipelines specifically, and they've just grandfathered it under. And the continuing process for regulation at this point on this pipeline is that we file we're going to file a market-based rate tariff, and it gets approved, and it really isn't a process of formal approval, although there is an approval process, but it's about a 30-day wait. It's really a filing process than a case-making process. We're not making our case for something because we've already done it under the 3 scenarios of rules that they set. But this pipeline's integrity is probably the single most important thing that we wanted to look at as to whether or not this was a viable project. It was built in 1973, and we're thinking, okay, it's an old piece of pipe. Does it leak? That's the first question. And the answer to that question is never leaked. It has had leaks at pump stations where they've connected to it, and the connection valve has had a leak, but the pipe has never leaked.
So how many trucker hours per year are you saving from?
Oh, this is enormous. So there is a slide, and actually I don't want to go through each slide. Yeah, we have a few more minutes. Yeah. So, and that's part of why I didn't really want to go slide to slide. But at the end of the day, this pipeline and this visual here with this map up, if you can imagine, there are trucks that go all the way down to Marysville, and the answer to the question is we think that we can eliminate 10,000 truckloads per year